My original plan for this video was to do a simple accuracy comparison between the 22 caliber and 25 caliber Benjamin Marauders using the popular Craftsman Premiers for the 22 and equally popular JSB Exact Kings for the 25. But then again, I've got these other pellets laying around. They might not be as popular as the Exact Kings and Premiers, but a little variety never hurt anything, so let's include them in the test also. After that, things got a little more complicated and spendy. I started reading some online airgun forums, as well as several customer product reviews on other highly rated pellets, and found that some people are making some very positive claims on various pellets that may not actually be the most popular. Some of you have probably read these statements before, like, "These are the most accurate pellet for my Marauder," and "I consistently get single-hole groups of these at 100 yards. Although I did not purchase every pellet I saw with a review like that backing it, I did purchase enough to nearly triple the amount of various lead to be thrown at the target. It was then that I realized that this was going to be more of a test between pellets rather than between the two guns. Thus the reason for not using the word versus between the two calibers in the title of this video. The possibility of a better pellet not tested could easily turn the tables on which caliber is the most accurate. Alright, so we have more than a dozen different pellets to shoot at a piece of paper 10 times each. Besides eliminating this overly lengthy introduction, is there anything I can do to make this video not so boring? Probably not, but I can make it more worthwhile by using a chronograph placed at the target 60 yards away so we can read the velocity at the same time holes are being punched in the paper. I ordered this Chrony F1 from Walmart online for $79.44 after tax and shipping. It is a basic no-frills unit, but it got decent reviews, so it should suffice for what I'm doing here. Okay, so I will now magically make it daylight again outside. And move Mr. Chrony out of harm's way. Go ahead and follow me as I change cameras here and jump out the window. Just taking a quick look at our target area setup. We got the stereo microphone that is located about 20 yards away from the target. And it is connected by this blue cable to the Canon 5D2, which has the 70 to 200 millimeter lens on it. Behind the camera about 6 feet are some concrete blocks to help protect it. And in front of it are some more concrete blocks. And they'll be protecting the chronograph from getting all shot up. It'll be displaying our 60-yard pellet velocities in feet per second. And our target is a simple 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. It's got a 2-inch diameter black circle on it. That'll be our point of aim, not necessarily where the pellets will be landing. And I'll describe on top there what pellets are being shot. And in the lower left I'll show the caliber, and in the lower right the weight of the pellets in grains. And off to the far left here, being held on by a speaker magnet, will be the lid from the tin of the pellets. And it'll be basically just used to confirm what pellets are being shot at the time. Let's take a look and see what we got on the table.
Laying down off to the left is the 25 caliber, and ready to go in the rest is the 22 caliber. On top of it is the Leapers 4 to 16 power scope. I mistakenly called it a 6 to 16 power in my previous noise output video, but it is actually the 4 to 16 power. And in this video it'll be used on both guns. The rest is a new toy to my arsenal here. It's a Caldwell lead sled. I picked that up because I figured that since I'm doing an accuracy test that a good steady rest would be essential for that. And another accuracy concern would be the use of the multi-shot clips, and there's been rumors that they deform the pellets or something like that. So for both guns I'll be using the single shot trays. I'll be examining each of the pellet types in more detail before we actually shoot them, but for a quick rundown on what we got here, on the 22 side are the Craftsman Premiers, JSB Exact Jumbo Monsters, Gammo Rocket Superiors, Predator Polymag, Beeman Field Target Specials, JSB Diablo Exacts, and H&N Barracuda Match. On the 25 caliber side is the JSB Exact Kings. You got the Benjamins. You got the Rund Kroglins, which are the number 3 buckshot rounds. You got H&N Field Target Trophies. Predator Polymags again. H&N Hollow Points. Beeman Kodiak Match, and the heaviest of them all here, the Unions hard-hitting hunting pellets. Well, I don't have one of those camera mounts for rifle scopes, but I think if I put the lens in front of the eyepiece here, I can kind of give you an idea what the target at 60 yards looks like when the scope's set at 16 power. And as you can see, the 2-inch point of aim there on the paper target is clearly visible, and it's a fairly steady rest here, even despite the fact that I'm kind of jiggling the camera on here and stuff, but it stays pretty well centered. Alright, just a quick rundown of what we'll be doing here. We'll be starting with the 22, since it's already got the scope mounted and ready to go there. And we'll choose a pellet, and we'll go over that pellet in more detail. I'll put the macro lens on and we'll take a close-up look at it and kind of go over some of the design features on it and things, and its weight and all that, and we'll check the current prices using Pyramid Air's website and see what the cost per pellet is. And yeah, make sure we gotta open the window here. And we'll shoot 10 rounds into the target, and we'll see how it did. I will be taking multiple 10-shot groups tests of the pellet, and whether I actually show that on video or not, it kind of depends on time, but I will, after each 10 rounds, I'll run a couple of dry patches in the barrel to clean it, make sure there's no fouling there starting, and then I'll pre-charge the gun back up to 2500 psi, and then we'll move on to the next pellet. Then when we're done with all the pellets for the 22, we'll put the scope on the 25 and do the same procedure for it. The only difference would be the pre-charge pressure, since the 25 is a more of an air hog. We'll be pre-charging it to about 2750 psi. Then when we're done shooting all the pellets, we'll measure up the group sizes on the targets and see which one was the most accurate. And then we'll also go over the data from the chronograph and see what the ballistics are like. And yeah, that'd be about it. So, taking a close look here at some of the grass and leaves. It almost looks like it's a dead calm out there. No wind at all, hardly to speak of. So, what do you say we get started?
The first pellet to get tested is the popular Crosman Premier. At 14.3 grains, it shares the lightest pellet category with the Gamma rockets. Despite their mediocre accuracy, the Premiers fly through the air very efficiently as they land at the target with the highest average 60-yard velocity of all the 22s. Using the September 2011 prices listed at Pyramid Air's website, each pellet costs just 1.8 cents each, making them the least expensive pellet to shoot. Great for general plinking. Typically, I won't be doing any voiceover on these shooting scenes. In fact, I'll be editing out most of the dead space to try to make things go along a little bit smoother and quicker. However, there's a few items I wanted to address to make it all clear to everyone as what we're seeing here. The chronograph is currently displaying AL, and that's normal for first being switched on. It's basically saying I'm on, ready to go. Go ahead and shoot at me. When the first pellet does fly over it, it'll say 01, and that 01 is actually a shot counter, and it's really the only thing that this chronograph, this model chronograph, takes memory of, and that's how many shots have gone through it. Immediately after the shot counter is the velocity in feet per second. Occasionally you might see an error message like error 1 or error 2, and that's just the chronograph saying I saw something go over, but I wasn't able to get a good fix on it due to bad lighting or bad angle or something like that. These last two shots here are actually too far to the right for the chronograph to see at all, so that's why nothing's changed since the first shot. But the fourth shot, it will see that, and it'll call that 02 since it's the second shot it's seeing. And the velocity for that was 649.8. I haven't been using the diffusers on top of the chronograph due to the fact that a lot of these pellets are doing some funny flying maneuvers. And at 60 yards, it'd be pretty easy to whack one of the either diffusers or diffuser rods. So I've been leaving those off and just been doing the velocity tests on cloudy days. And chronographs seem to work pretty good on overcast cloudy days, so that's not been a problem. Just right of the chronograph, you'll see the averages for this pellet, 1 yard and 60 yard, as well as the energies. The 60 yards have been are not only what we're seeing here average-wise, but also other tests I've taken with the chronograph for that pellet. I think for this Crosman Premier, I've taken 22 velocity counts with the chronograph. At that one totally missed the paper altogether there. But the 1 yard velocity tests are, I'll be going over those more detail later, but they're basically 3 shots taken 3 feet from the muzzle of the gun. And let's see, yeah, I think that's about it. Alright, I've got the last shot coming up here, our 10th shot. And it'll be calling that 07, because it's only read so far 7 shots out of 10. And so that wraps it up for the Crosman Premier, and we're going off to the next pellet. Going from one extreme in weight to the other, the JSB Exact Jumbo Monster weigh in at 25.4 grains, making him the longest, heaviest, and slowest 22 cal on a test. Its weight also helps give it the highest calculated energy of all the 22s at both 1 yard and 60 yards. Unfortunately, it got an F- in accuracy, seldom even hitting the paper. I can often see it through the scope as it leaves the gun, making a big corkscrew pattern as it flies somewhere towards the target. Is there anything positive I can say about the Gamma rocket? Well, it has that cool BB swedge in the head that can make dents in steel plate. That's about it. At 60 yards, it's even slower on average than the JSB Exact Jumbo Monsters we just saw. And since it's as light as a Crossman Premier, that also translates into the weakest pellet at the target. Let's see here. Inaccurate, inefficient, wimpy. Oh yeah, how about the most expensive 22 pellet tested at 7 cents each? After shooting 10 rounds with the 22, I'm finding that the pressure in a gun drops to about 2300 psi. Reinflating back to 2500 for the next 10 rounds requires about 26 to 30 strokes of the pump. The pump, by the way, is a Swedish-made Air Venturi. It's been good so far, but after a while, some of the set screws start to loosen up and need a little snugging again with a hex key, or Allen wrench as I like to call them. With its red polymer tip, the Predator Polymag is the coolest looking pellet of the bunch. Whether its claim of incomparable penetration and expansion is true or not, I'll let those with the ballistic jelly decide. It is decent accuracy-wise, but loses considerable energy at 60 yards. What really stood out is how it punches nice clean holes in the paper. But at almost 7 cents a round, I can live without that. The Beeman Field Target Special is the most accurate pellet I tested for the 22. If you are looking for the tightest groups, give this one a try. However, if you need knockdown power, it might not be your best choice as it had the second weakest energy at 60 yards. Maybe being the shortest pellet tested had something to do with that. Similar in size, shape, and weight to the Crossman Premier, just slower and more accurate. As you can see, it's a little too breezy right now to continue on with the 22 caliber accuracy testing. So I'm going to temporarily switch over to the 25 caliber and take down its data for the 1 yard pellet velocity figures. Although I haven't recorded it, I already did this testing for the 22 caliber, and that's how I obtained the 1 yard velocity figures you've seen on the accuracy test. These pellets, by the way, are the JSB Exact Kings that I'm shooting right now, 25.4 grains. So we got 865.6. I'm going to be just taking 3 shots and making an average of those 3 and using that number for the main figure. Shot 2 is 863 even. I've had to pre-charge lower on these guns for this test.
to kind of help put it in the median of what the 10-shot accuracy test would be. And for the 22 caliber, that's about 2400 psi. And for the 25 caliber here, it's about 2600 psi. 859.6. And I really haven't seen on the 25 caliber, the velocities in 10 shots have changed maybe 20 feet per second. But on the 22 caliber, they virtually haven't changed at all from the first shot to the 10th shot.
Okay, for our average, we've got 865.6 plus 863 plus 859.6 equals blah, 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 divided by 3 equals 862.7 for the average velocity for your JSB exact kings.
Well, due to time constraints and to keep from boring you to death, I'm not going to film through the testing on the rest of the pellets here. But if, like I mentioned earlier before, that if you're curious as to what the rest of these numbers are going to be, they're the same 1 yard pellet velocity you're seeing displayed during the accuracy test.
For some reason, my 22 Marauder does not like JSB, which is too bad, because the Diablo exacts have a lot going for them. At 18.1 grains, they are the second fastest and third hardest hitting of the 22s at 60 yards, while being the second least expensive. Accuracy-wise, I give them an F+, because with a slight modification that I am saving for a later video, they become one of the best. But for now, here is their embarrassing performance straight from the tin. The H&N Barracudas are available in at least 3 different head sizes, 5.51, 5.52, and 5.53 millimeters, with the 5.53 being the favorite for Marauder owners and the one I chose for the testing. At 21.14 grains, it reaches the target at the same speed as a 16 grain polymags, but in the end delivers 4 more foot-pounds of energy. Accuracy-wise, it falls somewhere between the Beemans and the polymags, sometimes better and sometimes worse in either case. Before moving on to the 25 cal Marauder, let's do a quick showdown between the top 2 we've seen so far, the Beeman and the Barracuda. Due to bad lighting, the chronograph wasn't working well, but that will allow us to get through this scene a little quicker. The first pellet to kick off for the 25 caliber Marauder is the popular JSB Exact Kings. I thought for sure these were going to win in accuracy, but this time they got a very close second. However, they did kick butt in flight speed at the target to win the trophy for the fastest pellet of all tested. When purchased by the 350 count tin, they are also some of the least expensive 25s to shoot, making it my favorite all-around pellet. Well, these are the big accuracy winners today, the 27.8 grain Benjamins. Not much else I can say other than I'm a bit surprised. Don't get me wrong, it was no landslide win or anything, but I had that same tin of pellets for as long as I owned the gun. Never shot 'em much because I never thought they were all that great. Maybe there's something to say about seasoned lead, or maybe now that my barrel's more broke in, the gun likes it a little more. Who knows? Well, I just know I'll never get the pronunciation of this one right, so I'm going to let the computer's translation program do that for me. Computer, scan and read yellow label on tin of pellets.
Händler und Natermann Präzisionsrundkugeln.
Very well. Computer, translate that into English.
Händler and Natermann precision balls around.
Balls around. Balls around. Computer, don't you mean round balls?
I believe I am the expert here, you dumbass.
Whoa, watch it, computer, or I'll trade you in for a used Apple IIe.
Yo mama was a Macintosh.
Round balls, balls round, number 3 buck, whatever you want to call them. These turned out to be the least accurate of all the 25 calibers. However, they still performed better than some of the 22 calibers we tested. Earlier I mentioned I was going to be pre-charging the 25 cal to 2750 psi, but I've actually been using 2800. After the 10 shots, the gun is down to about 2300 to 2400 psi.
I'm finding it takes about 53 to 55 strokes in a pump to get back up to 2800 psi, which is about
Twice as many pumps as the 22. I really need to get a scuba tank, one with filled with pure oxygen. Not for the gun, but for myself. I'm dying here. Similar looking to the JSB Exact Kings, the H&N Field Target Trophies are the lightest and shortest 25 caliber pellets in the test. Handling these reminds me of when Aunt Eleanor gave me my first hollow Easter bunny. They look normal on the outside, but your hands tell you that something's a little different. Shooting these requires considerable windage adjustment at the scope as they tend to fly to the right. As expected, these are the fastest pellets from the muzzle, but at 60 yards, the velocity is about average, and therefore energy is quite low. Similar in accuracy to its 22 caliber little brother, the 26 grain Predator Polymag not only packs more punch, it is surprisingly a little faster. However, when compared to the other 25 caliber pellets, it is still nothing to rave about. And approaching nearly a dime a piece to shoot, they are the most expensive in the test. Again, like the 22, the best qualities I've seen are the nice clean holes in the target. Watch now as a dollar's worth of pellets flies away in 30 seconds.
Time to make some emergency backstop repairs. Good as new.
If there was a trophy for biggest loser, the H&N hollow point would have won it. Leaving the gun at 849 feet per second and hitting the target all the way down to 526 essentially mirrors the performance of the 22 caliber Gamma rocket. But unlike the rocket, the H&N hollow point scores very well in accuracy. It also cuts a nice hole in the paper, but still not as clean as the Polymags. For this video, the Beeman Kodiak match could be dubbed the Pellet of Seconds. It was the second heaviest pellet tested, the second fastest 25 caliber at 60 yards, and the second hardest hitting. Unfortunately, not the second most accurate, but on a different day it easily could have, as it was right there with the best of them. If the price was just a bit lower, maybe even my second favorite pellet of all. Lower yet, maybe even my most favorite. Okay, the 15th and final pellet selected for the test is the 43.2 grain oh boy, here we go again. Computer, scan and read green label on tin of pellets.
UNTAN.
Is there a more English way of pronouncing that?
Yungen.
That don't help much. What exactly does that translate to in English?
It's probably someone's name, you retard.
That's it. I swear, when this video is completed, your target practice.
You ain't got the Rundkugelns.
The Rundkugel. Oh. Well, if I was going to blast a hole through this computer, this would be my pellet of choice. At 43.2 grains, it packs the most punch of all at 60 yards. I'm not sure what effect all the belting and ribbing has on its performance. However, I can't help but believe that if there was a domed head version of this pellet rather than a pointed, it might pull off some tighter groups. It's showdown time now for the two most accurate 25 caliber pellets, and that would be the 25.4 grain JSB Exact Kings and the 27.8 grain Benjamins. Well, the JSBs won that by about 3/16 of an inch.
Let's try it again. This time we'll shoot the Benjamins first. I could probably shoot all day long with those two pellets and never come to a conclusion as to which is the most accurate. So what I will end up doing is take an average for each pellets group size and use that for a placement. But for the 22 versus 25 testing coming up next, I'll be pitting both of them against the 22 caliber beam and field target specials, with the first up being the JSB Exact Kings. The most time-consuming part of this 22 versus 25 section of the video has got to be the scope swapping and sighting in between the guns. But don't worry, I won't make you sit through all that. Now it's Benjamin's turn to go up against the 22 cal and the Beam and Field Target Specials. Yes, it's Benjamin versus the B-Man. Next. In 2004, you may have seen the movie Alien vs. Predator. Now, 7 years later, 20 times more exciting, and in 720p HD, it's Predator versus Predator! What better way to compare the accuracy of two different caliber air rifles than to use two red-headed pellets from the same mother? Yes, it's little brother against big brother in this all-out, clean-hole, paper-punching brawl! Well, that just about wraps it up for the Marauder accuracy testing. I was hoping to keep this video less than 45 minutes, but looks like it might be a couple minutes over, so I'm gonna just quickly go over these data sheets here before I bail out.
For those of you that actually want to read these charts, you will probably have to go to full screen mode and maybe even click on 720p to read some of these smaller figures, and then pause for as long as you like. But anyways, this is the accuracy chart. The most accurate pellets are on the left, the least accurate on the right, and all the pellets are in corresponding order of accuracy. Their weight in grains are below that. The figures you see in blue are the individual group measurements. As you can see, some pellets were shot and measured more than others. The Beemans here had a total of 7 groups. The larger figures in green are the averages for the groups of that pellet. So as you can see, there was only 9/1000ths of an inch difference in average group size between a first and second place, which would put them at a virtual tie. The Benjamin did get the tightest individual group at 1.59 inches. Over on the right there where it says off target, that basically means those pellets were so bad, some of them not even hitting the paper at all, that they were unmeasurable. The round balls here did have one group that I could measure, but the other group had at least 2 flyers that made it unmeasurable. Therefore, the greater than symbol in front of the average there. As I mentioned earlier in the video while shooting the JSB Diablo Exact, that I later did a modification to them that greatly increased its accuracy, and that will be in my next Marauder video. But here is a little preview on that. As you can see, each of these groups did better than the first place average, so stay tuned for that. The figures you see penciled in here represent the order in which that group appeared in the video. The first group we saw was the Crossman Premiers. If you recall, it had 1 flyer off the paper also, but I was able to get some calipers on that for that measurement. The 27th and final group we saw was from the 22 caliber polymags during the Predator versus Predator scene. And that brings us to the next chart for the 1-yard velocities. On this chart, the faster pellets are on the left, the slower pellets are on the right. The figures you see here are straight from the chronograph, which was placed 3 feet away from the muzzle of the gun. And of course we got the averages down below. What I find the most interesting about this chart is that even though the 22 caliber Marauder is rated for 1,000 feet per second, and the 25 caliber Marauder is only rated for 900 feet per second, that this chart kind of contradicts that. It kind of looks like the 25 is actually faster than the 22 here, but I'm not really sure what grain pellets they were using when they're rating their rifles there, but just kind of a strange observation there. And now our 60-yard velocity chart. Same as before, faster pellets on the left, slower pellets on the right. Got the averages down below here in green from 60 yards in feet per second. And I did not list the individual chronograph readings here, but instead I wrote down the amount of velocity lost in flight from the 1-yard chart. And as you can see, the H&N hollow point was the biggest loser, and the Gamma rocket there was a big loser there too. But the ones that lost the least amount were the heaviest for each caliber. The JSB Jumbo Monster lost the least. It actually won something here. And the Yunjin lost 135.2. And so our next chart here is the 60-yard energy calculations. The pellets with the most energy at 60 yards are off to the left, and the wimpy Gamma rocket is off to the right. As one would expect, the 25 caliber fared pretty good in this category. The hardest hitter for the 22 caliber was a JSB Jumbo Monster.
The figures in blue here is the amount of energy lost at 60 yards. And as you can see, the H&N hollow point, again, was the biggest loser there. And there's several online calculators where you can figure your energy. You simply type in your bullet weight in grains and also give a velocity figure, and it'll poop out these numbers for you. And our biggest winner here would be the 25 caliber Yunjins, 43.2 grains, and it's producing almost 31 foot-pounds of energy.
Well, this video is finally over. I hope you all enjoyed watching it. I know I learned quite a bit just in making it. I now have a few more pellets I can call my favorite. It appears now that I have to make a new backstop before I go any further anyways. Wow, some of those are starting to make their way through the tubophores. Well, thanks for watching.